Hi guys, this is Ducky7. Just doing some commentary of a session I just played earlier. In the top right screen I've triple barreled with jacks 3 times there and probably calling off if he shoves. I thought I'd apparently not recorded my voice while I was playing, which I thought I had done, which is irritating, so I'm having to speak over the session. It's only part of my session. It started off pretty badly, losing a bind straight away, which I think I'm complaining about now. We're about 160 down straight away after getting set oversetted, but recovered pretty quickly to be up about half a buy-in. I'm playing one tournament, the free roll and stars for gold stars and plus on the weekends. I'd never really mix cash and tournament at the same time ever, but when it's a free roll I'm not too bothered. I think I debated squeezing with the jack 9 of hearts here and also calling with a fish in the pot, but I didn't really get out of position to a reg who's 3.5x'd. Another gun, and the pot's going to be really inflated when I check raise flops and miss a lot. Pretty standard defend with the ace 4. I'm a player who doesn't really like free betting an ace 6 hand, button versus blinds. I think it's a lot better to just call and keep the pot small. And I decided to don't with turn with a flush draw on a paired board. I think he's going to call super wide and just inflate the pot for when we do hit. I probably should have checked call in hindsight. I thought he'd check back the flop, I think, at the time. But yeah, I'm against 3 betting ace 6 suited hands out of position against button opens. I don't mind if it's against cut off or hijack, etc., because you're going to get flagged a lot more on the button. And I think when you 3 bet and get called with an ace 6 hand during a week, you're in a bigger pot with a weak ace 6 hand, and that's just something I just do not like the thought of ever. You're just going to get in a bunch of tough spots. So let's see about an isolation versus the fish here on the queen 8a. You're just going to miss a lot. So I was flat with ace x hands, blind v blind or blind v button really, apart from the noted hands like ace queen and ace king, which I'll 3 bet most of the time. Just because regs are going to barrel at aces a lot, so if it comes ace high they're going to barrel a lot and you're just going to make a bunch of money. I think I debated raising the flop with the 9s here. I probably would against regs because it's a super wet board that's going to hit us a lot, and we have quite a lot of equity with the open ender. But I think I just decided to snap call obviously with the aces, and he shows up with pocket 8s I believe, and we run pretty well. And I just decided to flat because I think the fish is still going to pay us off, and he might shut down with his ace king hands, etc. and we can just shear his cheap river and probably fold to turns. I'm always c-bet with the 5-7 spades here. It's a pretty loose open from the hijack, but when I think I make quite a lot with the fish behind. I'm never folding to a min, but I don't think on that king 9 or h8, and I'm a double barrel on the king x board because it's such a dry board. It's hard for him to have anything, and he's going to probably call that flop with any hand 5s through jacks that he called pre with, that he's going to have to fold to 2 or 3 barrels. And that double barrel here looks pretty strong on such a dry board. He's just going to have to fold a lot of his range. We've got to walk with aces, unfortunately. Like here with the a7, I don't mind 3 betting as much because you are going to get more fold and it looks a lot stronger than it would be a blind v blind. Pretty loose open with the queens 8 of diamonds, but against a fish I'm happy to play that because he's still doing okay against his range, I think. And I don't mind being in the pot with the fish really ever. Pretty loose open with the ace 9 of spades, but there's a fish behind, and the guy in the big blind is a nit, which I'm going to point out now I think. So he's just going to fold a lot, and we can outplay him post flop anyway in position because he's just going to play fit off old. I'm going to win a lot of pots. Now I got 3 bet by the button here, and I figured he was doing it pretty wide, so I think I decided to go ahead and 4 bet. Pretty much, as he's just going to fold a bunch of the time. He's not particularly overly aggressive reg, but I think with his sizing just looked odd to me. I think he usually makes it 450, so I don't know why I made it 431. So I just decided to go ahead and 4 bet. Standard 3 bet the 10-9 suited here in position. Well, most people like to flat with it. I prefer to 3 bet with it. I think 3 betting in position with pretty much all my ranges, how I make so much money yet. That I do, because people just play fit off fold post flop or 4 bet their 9 hands. So you just make a ton of money in position, and then polarized to 3 bet rate. Sorry, I have a 3 bet polarized 3 bet range out position. Now I'm going to decide to go ahead and see bet this flop just to rep over pairs. I figure the initial reg's not going to have anything that strong, most of the time. I'm more worried about the guy in the big blind who just cold called, because he's going to cold call with hands like 9s, maybe 8s, 10s and jacks. It's quite a fair bit of his range, but I figure there's a lot of barreling cards I can bet at that can bluff him off, and apparently I was pretty wrong. The guy actually did have what I'm imagining a set here. Let's do a check raise with the ace set of clubs here. Got a bunch of equity versus basically everything. I tried to trap the fish with the straight there, and I just want to go ahead and bet the river and hope he had some sort of 2-pair hand, and he actually did. 4-bet the flop. Sorry, did not 4-bet the flop. He shoved the flop there, and he folded on table 2, which is interesting. I went for a value bet here. It's obviously not a brilliant river with it pairing the board, but I'm never folding, so I wanted to make a size and that made it look like I was never folding to. And that he would call with worse, obviously. And a pretty bad red. I wouldn't be surprised for him to shove with not the nuts there. And the tables worked brilliant. And after the day I had yesterday, which started off the month with a -7 buying session, just about. To be in the plus side was nice. Pretty standard up with the Jack-7 of hearts here against a short stacker who's going to fold a lot on a fish, which can be able to play in position all the time. Which is nice. I don't think I decided to see about the King Jack 4 ways. I said that's me, so I probably did. Well, no, so I don't see about it to a flat. I just had no equity. No need to float there. I'm never going to pick any outs up on the turn really, bar a 10 and maybe potentially the King, which might not even be good. And I got an interesting spot here with the Jack 9, which I decided to 3-bet. I still didn't mind being in position against the fish playing Jack 9 in a 3-bet pot. It was pretty loose, but I figured the reg is just going to play super duper standard once the fish is in the pot, so he's going to 4-bet his obviously his nut hands and fold all his air hands. Now he decides to tank here. Another time I was saying about how he must be tanking to decide whether between a raise or a call and hope I raise behind. Can't think he's having too much of a struggle decision. He's just deciding whether to call or raise here. So I decided he had me beaten. Probably had a big diamond in his hand, either the King of Diamonds or the Jack of Diamonds. Pick up aces on table 5, and he did decide to flat call in the end. Now I never fold to a min bet, so I don't think I did here. Let's done a 3-bet with the aces. No, I just can't. Maybe I did. Yeah, I decided to fold in the end with the reg taking so long to make a decision and then call. I felt like he wanted me to go crazy there. Bet pretty big on this flop. If he's got a pair, he's never folding. If he's got a flush draw, he's never folding. So might as well bet big for the times he does hit. And we get dealt aces back to back, which is pretty rare but pretty nice. So let's see bet on a double pair board into 2 fish, probably for value still. I'm never folding to him in 3-bet, especially 3 ways with Queen 10 of hearts. And we flop pretty well, get raised with the ace 10, so it's a pretty easy fold. And we get the 3-bet with the aces. We go ahead and 4-bet and have aces over there as well, so we should have aces everywhere. I'm pretty sure he goes for a pretty quick fold. Yeah, both pots, unfortunately we don't get much money with them, but can't really complain. And he bets again the same size and he 3-bet with on table 1 here. And here he did have jacks in that hand, just double checking what he had here. And we turn the world with the Queen 10. Run got on camera, eh? Just to prove, I think I was just complaining about how badly I run. That's yesterday's session, ended about 650 down. And I was really torn about how much to raise here or to whether to call. I figured it was way too much of a dry board to call. I mean, too much of a wet board, sorry, to a call. And let so many bad turns peel off. But I didn't really want to ship it on him. I was really struggling to come up with a decent size in here, because whatever it does, it's going to look super strong to the reg. And the fish went ahead and snap called, and he's only got 26 behind, and I make it like 21.50 on the turn. We get the brick on the river, which is always nice. The reg went ahead and folded, probably a pretty strong hand. And the fish, I was shocked at this point for him to not snap call when he'd put so much in, with almost 3 to 1 in his money, if not more. And I figured by this point he must have had some sort of combo draw. It's a fish, he has a pair. I was shocked that he was going to fold, which he didn't, and we won a pretty nice pot. Probably should have made a note actually that he min 3-bet Jack 10 of clubs, but I was probably happy to win a pot at the time. So yeah, you can see this start of the month went pretty badly. I'm probably complaining about that there. That's where the session. That's where I ended the session last night, where I pointed that line there, where I am now, and that's the big pot I lost just at the beginning of this one, but it started to round back up. Variance A in the free roll. I decided to isolate the king queen of hearts with 35 bigs. It's pretty standard. I went ahead and folded the 9-10 of spades because he was short stacked, and the fish was short as well, so I didn't think I had much implied odds to call with. 3-bet the ace king for value versus the bad reg is up on the button, and I started to defend with the 7s. We flop a pair, and I just have to get it on this flop all the time, which is unfortunate. It's a really disgusting board for the ace king. Obviously it hits him, and I just went ahead and shipped it. It's a free roll, it's a fish, I'm not bothered, I'm probably beat. And he had a set, so we basically started turn swear, but I think we'd be bricked. Sit cooler, I went out 2 pair to a set, I run so bad. Standard defend with the 10s. Some people like squeezing there, but I hate when I get 4-bet. I went for the check call with the ace king that we had a pair. Obviously, I've standard value bet with the 10s, and it's a pretty gross river for us. I'm pretty sure he ships, and I just have to make a side fold. I'm never in front here. Tried to no, there's just no reason for us to ever be calling here. He just always has beat. He's probably I probably shouldn't be c-betting those kind of flops with ace king there. I'm gonna do. And I decide to defend against the fishes open, which I think is okay. And to check call this flop was a plan, as he's never going to really fold to a spade if he's got king anyway. So I was just going to check call, see what the turn brought, and we did. He checked back and turned a flush. I was praying he wouldn't check fold, which would have been pretty sick, which I think he did. Yep, unfortunately that's what he does. And we get raised by a short stacker here, so we have no fold equity. And I don't know why I opened king 9 diamonds there. I think it was because the fish was on the button, but still that's probably pretty bad. I think I'm just saying that now, or I was doing at the time. Now I go ahead and 3-bet the 6-7 of spades here. Looks super strong from the small blind. And even if the fish does call, we can still flop a bunch of draws, and obviously it's not ideal if the fish calls, which you shouldn't be doing a lot, but we run good. So we bet, and I'm pretty sure we take it down a lot of the time anyway, so even if we do, when we do brick, we're still going to take it down with a c-bet a lot of the time and just make a lot of money. I think it's pretty standard defend when there's 2 fish in the pot with the queen and a spades. Generally speaking, obviously I wouldn't be defending that against regs, probably more inclined to squeeze or fold. We flop top pair, standard check call. And just playing up some more tables because these weren't brilliant. And I went for some pretty thin value on the river. I think they're going to call with a lot of worse 1-pair hands and like flush draws that hit a pair, which is a bit exactly what happened, but he was a 3-outer, unfortunately. But I do think he calls with worse, so I think that value bet on the river is fine. Stand open with the ace queen off. I think I'm just talking about that there as well. And the flat with the 6s against the fish. Whoa, I didn't leave that table, did I? I think I must have left that table straight away, which is pretty bad, considering how bad they all are. Another stand open with the ace queen. No, I didn't. Okay, I did. Wow, should have done that. And we get flattered by the fish. We got an all in on table 1. Pretty standard flip if I remember correctly. Yep, and his king comes out on top. I decided to bet pretty big on this flop because I figure he's going to have a ton of draws and worse 1-pair hands. So just basically pie and try and get stacks him by the river, which I probably would have done. Had he I think I did actually. And he called, leaving us a pretty nice shove on the river. I think it's 28 into 43, which is giving some okay odds to call with 1-pair hands. And obviously we had the best hand there, so I think it's just a fine value shove. It does definitely call with worse one pair hands and draws that hit a pair, Jack 10 of spades, etc. like that. I'm going to pause this for a minute. So yeah, just looking for some more tables as I've went down to 5. The tables went brilliant for a Saturday, which makes a nice change, which makes a horrible change, not a nice change. Again, defend with the ace, X hand. Hate 3-betting these kind of hands because I just think they have a ton of value when you hit top pair and they just barrel into you and you just make a load of money. Also, you keep the pot small value buying when people go crazy. So I think the last thing I need is to create more variance for myself by going crazy blind v blind. I think it's quite sensible of me. I've got 5 tables at this moment in time, which is very rare for myself. Playing 6s usually the minimum I'll play. We play between 6 and 12, depending on how good the tables are. Even more if we're having the best days ever, like Christmas, playing like 14 to 15 tables because they were just so good over the Christmas period. Pretty loose open with a6, but was a I think he's a fish in the big blind and a fish on the button. I'm pretty confident I can outplay most regs post flop. And I've raised from under the gun. 15-0. That looks like a pretty bad table based on the fact that everyone's leaving and joining, and it just looks like there's a ton of people on the waiting list and then a fish has been bust and everyone's left. 3-bet with the 10-9 suited. It's a pretty annoying spot with the ace-king. And I think I debated calling off on this river because he has a lot of worse draws here, and I think I did actually tank for a fair while thinking about this for a call river, and I'm still a bit torn about it. I don't know how many one pair hands he actually has. I guess he could have pocket pairs like pocket 7s and stuff that he randomly plays badly. Squeeze with their 4-5 suit because I don't want anybody out of position to 2 regs. When I'm going to be check raising a lot and I'm going to probably be flattening in position a fair amount. And I've never really made these kind of hero calls, I'm pretty bad at them. And I figured on the table 1 that his board is just so good for us and so bad for his range that we're just going to take the pot down all the time. And I was terribly wrong, and I just figured he had pocket 7s left and move on to the next hand. When he calls a raise pre and then calls a squeeze pre, it's almost impossible for him to have a decent ace. I mean, he could have ace queen a fair amount of the time, but that's about it, and even then I could put that under a lot of pressure. Where his range is a lot more hands like potentially queen 10 of diamonds and middle pair hands like 7s through jacks potentially. So I feel like ace is just a great card for us to barrel at. But obviously when he min raises the flop we had no fold equity, and obviously it never got the odds to call for the gutter. We got 5x from under the gun on table 3, what essentially is now. It would usually be table 4. So I isolate with the queen 10 off. We fold here because the fish has nothing behind and the reg is also short stacked. I think he's a pretty bad rig actually. And an isolation of this fish. It was not even actually that bad of a fish. As far as fish go, we got a 6th table which we sit down at and tile them. Standing open with the king 10 off on the button here with the fish in the blind on a short stacker. And I said about I don't usually 3-bet ace-x hands, but I do for value against fish. I mean, ace jack just does so well against his calling range, especially when we flop that well. I think I decided to go ahead and c-bet here, which I probably shouldn't. I don't think I do not slow play exclusively, barely ever, because I bet so often. I feel I should be better with my nut hands as well as I have air on those flops. I'm just hoping he had some sort of pocket pair or flush draw. And decided to go crazy in a pair board, which fish actually occasionally do, which is pretty funny. I was stuck off with pocket 6s there and got the crazy stuff, which is obviously pretty much dead. Yeah, again, ace 9 on table 3, knitting the big blind, a fish behind, just I think makes it an okay call. Oh, until we, okay, raise until we get shoved on. Now, obviously, 3-bet with the ace king. I was hoping to get him to level himself, as I know that he knows that he's ISOing super wide, so he knows I'm 3-betting wider. So people sometimes go crazy in those spots. Not as often as you'd think, but occasionally people 4-bet light in those spots. A lot less at 15L than 100. That's a pretty bad table straight away. And a 3-bet with the Queen 10s, I don't think we're calling profitably that often. With Queen 10 off there, I just prefer 3-bet folding over flying. It just leaves us in a tough spot when we flop middle pair or one pair and he starts barreling to us. Get a flat with the ace-6, no need to 3-bet here, I don't think, in my opinion. And get 4-bet with the Queen 10, it's a pretty easy fold. Alright, I think I'm just gonna go. I decide to go ahead and open the 4-3 suited pretty loose under the gun, but there's 2 fishes in the blinds, so I think it's okay. I go ahead and raise this flop because it's gonna leave him in such a tough spot with most of his range, and it hits us pretty well. I usually don't do this with no equity at all. I usually have like the ace of hearts or something. I guess we have backdoor straight cards, but I don't think that's enough to make this okay. And I think I just go ahead and fold with the ace jack of clubs here. He's made a pretty big squeeze. I don't always need to play back at these people, they sometimes have it. And I decided to flat with the ace 6-7 of clubs. I usually 3-bet there, but with the fish in the blind I figure we're going to go multi-way and I'll have position a bunch of the time. Even if I don't, fish on the button might come along. And the ace-6 on table 4 we do get to win the pot. And that is super loose, but he's folding somewhat a lot of the time. Now, with the 6-7 here, I probably would usually raise this kind of flop in position with a gut shot, but he didn't have much behind, so he don't have that much fold equity. So I just got to go ahead and fold just pretty much straight away here with that dry board. It's hard for him to again have anything. It leaves him in a tough spot with anything that's not an overpair. And even then I can barrel into him, I can pick up a lot of equity on the turn, pick up open enders and flush draws. I can just bet into and shove rivers, but he just didn't have enough behind to make that okay here, I don't think. And open with the 10-7 suited. I think we decided to leave table 1 now, with the fish being sat out. Not really, I didn't really get in many tough spots or interesting spots with this about 40-45 minute video. It's pretty funny really, as I ended this video and continued my session. I got in 2 or 3 pretty big pots, pretty much 5 or 10 minutes afterwards, which is pretty funny, and a few interesting spots. I didn't isolate the 10-7 there, something I think I would do some other time. Bring a position to the fish. I think it's fine to isolate super duper wide on the button. And we go ahead and get check raised with the 10-7. I think it is a good board for us to attack with the king on the board, obviously. And he probably check raises most of his draws there, or I'd expect him to. He's not that much of an aggressive here actually, but not a few more tables now. I think it's 8 at this moment in time. So that's some sort of order. Might be too many. You'll have to let me know if I play. If 6 is the optimum amount for watching a video. But it's pretty boring to me. I'm a maniac. Always looking for tables is something that I would encourage a lot. Here's another super wet board when we're in position that we should just be raising a lot of the time with all our draws, combo draws, and then when we have the nuts we've got to be raising it as well. So balanced TF, he might go crazy out the tables looks pants, so just leave that. Might go crazy that we raised him last time, and he might go crazy this time. Eventually he's going to lose. I was just double checking that it was him that I raised last time with the ace-6, and I confirmed it was. Beast under isolate with the jack 10 and happy there's a fish on 100 now. And not so really fold, but it's okay. Now we pick up aces, so happy days, and then the fish leaves, which is pretty sickening. And that's pretty annoying. Lovely squeeze spot with the aces, however, and a fake call off there. King 7. I need to just no need to call off there really. I might have bad rogue for not being sat with the full buy-in. His stats are pretty wide. I think it's 22-15 it says, which is kind of wide gap. And we take the pot down with aces, unfortunately. Obviously we would have liked to win a big pot. Now we sat straight out there, and then I saw someone who sat down short stack, and I imagined he might be a fish. I think I decided against staying there in the end, and just going back to 6 tables. I think I could have played a little bit better in the session, but I don't think I'm doing anything too bad. Maybe still opening a bit wide from various positions. I had some sort of reason for it. Then open with the Queen Jack of Spades. You can always flat when the blind's 3-bet here, because they are over 100 bigs deep. We can flop well against anything. And there's 2 fish in the blind. We flop somewhat okay. I'm surprised he didn't flop a straight flush, but oh well. We get a limp call from the small blind here. Just see bet this board 1,000,000% of the time. And same with the Queen Jack of Spades, because we just have so much equity in the hand. Now I decided to 4-bet the Ace-6 of Spades here because he's an unknown to me. So I do this a lot. I decided to nope as well, call it with the Queen Jack, because I don't think he's calling with anything worse, and he's just going to show it with random hands like that. And I'm making a note of it. The reason we had 4-betting the Ace-6 suited there was because he's an unknown to me, so that I therefore am unknown to him, which means when I 4-bet there, his 4-bet range is going to be pretty tight. I mean, his 5-bet shoving range is going to be pretty tight because we have no history and he doesn't know anything about me. So he's got to presume I have a pretty strong range there, like probably queens and ace-king plus. So obviously he can only continue with those hands as well, which is obviously a tiny amount of his range there on when he's 3-betting the small blind versus the button. So I do take advantage of when I'm playing against unknowns a lot to attack them a lot more with like 3 or 4 bets, because it just leaves them in a lot tougher spot when I'm unknown to them. Unfortunately we didn't get much value with the ace-queen there, and we pick up aces for the first time today. Let's see if we can get it in pre for once. And making a note of what he did with the flush draw there and donked him in the river, obviously to bluff me off better draws. Played it well. Standard ISO with the in table 4. I think just ISOing pretty much any 2 cards is okay. And decide to again 3-bet folding with their Queen Jack is I think the best play here. I think flying in position is not brilliant. Well, I personally don't like it as much as 3-bet folding, because you can flop pretty well against anything. And then we get 4-bet again. Seems to be a common theme of yesterday, was every 3-bet was getting 4-bet, which is pretty sick. And we get checked with the Queen 10 of diamonds, so we can bar onto that. And we have 2 tables to tile here, so miscalculated, and could play at that size with 12 tables. That'd be funny. I think I decided to flat ace king to open for the first time in my entire life here, based on the fact we were we weren't pretty deep, but we were more than 100 big effective, and I was hoping one of the blinds would squeeze, which is something I've started to debate. I've thought about and debated starting to do, and we get check fold. I think when he checks to us on that flop, that flop smashes our range more than his, so he starts to check fold his overs, and 1 pair hands that are lower than the board. But yeah, you do get squeezed somewhat a lot at 100 NL now, and should be flying with nutted hands, so when we get squeezed we can just flat and let them bet into us. Pot the flop here versus a fish with ace-queen, we obviously have the best hand like nearly all the time, and he's just going to call off with an ace with a worse heart or a heart king of hearts, which you can just get a ton of value from. I bet pretty big, leaving him, he'd have been left with 9 on the river when he called 7 on the turn. He's pretty much compelled to call off. He's always thinking about how you can get stacks in by the river. I said knit up and fold the king jack there versus the fishes open. I didn't really like any of the options. Don't really want to free bet a fish who's open from under the gun, and a flatting leave yourself available to squeeze in. Plus, I still don't think we do that well versus the fishes longer range. I've found a pretty nice spot with the aces here when he's open to the gun. Obviously, he's got a tighter range. I would normally free bet that 5-7 suited in table 3, but it's a fish who's never folding and has nothing behind, so it's just a terrible idea. It's a really nice spot to 3-bet with the aces. These are some of the kind of spots where you can start flatting, hope you get squeezed behind. But when he 4-bets there, he's always 4-bet calling off, and it's a cooler. So don't get too fancy now. Checking how I'm doing pretty well after considering I was 1.5 buy-ins down after 100 hands to be up 1.5 buy-ins. I don't know how many hands later, probably about 500 or 600 later. It's going to be pretty nice. He opened with the queen 10, fish in the big blind and fish on the button. Yet to mark the fish in the big blind, but he definitely is fish. And then open with the queen jack again, attacking this nits big blind with the fish behind. And I would normally flat such a small free betting position there, but he had nothing behind really. We have very little fold equity. And sometimes just give up with the queen jack. Defend the a7. Most people like 3-betting here, but for the reason before, just the thought of being out of position in a 3-bet pot with a weak ace just sounds like a nightmare to me. Check fold that flop. He's going to hit him pretty well, somewhat okay. And you need to go for every single pot. You have to fold sometimes, unfortunately. I myself for some beratement of how I played, I think, in this session so far. Not going to play particularly badly. I haven't got many spots where there's much debate of how to play. I had just 3-bet with the aces and balancing my range here with the jack 8 of spades. I don't really want to flat and get squeezed behind, or don't mind really if the fish flats when I 3-bet with the jack 8 of spades, because I can flop well. And also if he flats, I can flop well against it, and it caps his range to quite a small range of hands, which I can just obviously play super well against in position. We flop okay with the 6-4 of clubs. Quite annoyed to not flop the straight flush. Could run better. And he's going to raise his flop like 60-70% of the time in position, because it's just such a great board for him to attack. Because it smashes his range over mine. Unless you're meeting you open 4-6 of clubs from the it's actually the cut off with the guy set out. So I just go ahead and 3-bet this flop for value. Probably an argument for calling, but then if we bet the turn comes the king of spades and he bets into it. We still have a bunch of equity in the hand, but could easily be behind now. And he can check back a lot of rivers when we brick. I've got a donch of rivers, so I think 3-betting in there. I can balance on that board now and 3-bet with some air hands. I'm always going to do it with some equity, but like flush draws that hopefully aren't as strong as that. I would debate 3-betting a reg here sometimes with king 6 suited. I mean, it's got some blockers and can flop okay. I'd never really do it, but some people would argue it. Obviously with the fish in the pot, I don't really want to be squeezing that wide, because he's just going to call a lot and I can't flop that well against him. Flop top pair with the ace jack. Looking for some tables, come on, down a little bit. Open with the ace 5, stand on the button, and defend with the king 10. And again, we get this common theme that occurs is getting raised in position on somewhat wet flops. I mean, it hits him marvellously, a lot more than it hits me. But I'm not folding top pair, top kicker here, with him having such a great board to attack. I'm never folding his turn, which is an okay barreling card for him. I think obviously if he has like, you can rep some combo hands. but still it's on mostly draws. He does decide to check back, and we get one of the worst rivers in the deck. Completes 9-10, which could have potentially raised the flop at 9-10 of hearts, but we probably would have bet the turn with that. And I figure he's always betting this river with close to, well, all his bluffs and obviously all his flushes, but I was kind of surprised that he didn't bet the turn with his flush draws here. We'll leave that table because it's gone empty. Again, this is what I'm talking about with the King X hands and Ace X hands. He just barrel at them a lot. Flop okay. I figure he's just going to bet this river a lot with all his air and all his flush draws, so he's super duper polarized here. And at the end, I decided I think I wanted to call because he should just have basically what he had there. He's betting. He should be betting the turn with all his flush draws. And just go ahead and fold the ace-8. We have no fold equity with a fish here. If he has a pair, he's not folding. And this sizing on the river really annoyed me. It made me feel like I was behind, which I was. When he makes it that sizing on the river, it just feels like a value bet. But once he's going to barrel that board a lot, so I shouldn't really be folding. King X there, and that kind of board texture. No need to 3-bet jacks first and under gun open, especially when it's that big. Thunder caught with the ace queen. Flop top pair. I mean, just check give up with the jacks there. And then jack going crazy on this board with the gut shot that we have, which is may or may not good. Just had to check fold 3 ways. Another rush table. Bet for value here, and probably call off if he shoves. We got an okay flop with the jack 10 of spades. We can return a lot of equity with obviously the gut shot, any spade. Jack of the 10 is nearly almost always good. We get called and get a pretty bad turn card with the 8. I mean, he still has a bunch of draws in his range, which we don't necessarily beat. I just had to check back and probably give up on this hand. And I think he goes ahead and bets this river. Not going to consider him to have king, 10 of diamonds and hands like that. The river a pair or a 7 or an 8 is still in his range. If he wants to bet that size and with his missed flush draws, and fair play to him. I'll let him have this pot. Fold with the 3-5 suited. A lot of people get tempted to overlimp there, but you're just going to be out of position with 5 high without the lead. If you take the lead, you're going to see a bunch of bad turn cards. I just took a quick break there, so haven't missed much action. Just like 5 or 10 seconds. And we get check 2 with the king queen, I believe, in a second, which is obviously a standard value bet. Done a nice lay open, sorry, with the ace deuce. S on the button should always be an open pretty much. Again, another value bet. I'm probably calling off his shove. It's a fish, so he obviously shoves the worst queen X hands. Unfortunately, if he does shove, we're going to side call, I believe, if that does happen, which it doesn't in this case, I don't think. I'm going to min 4 bet the ace 10 here pretty much. There's a line I take a lot when you get squeezed. I think 4 betting when you get squeezed just looks so strong, and they usually are squeezing light a lot of the time just because you can. And we do get called. Actually, can't call them. Thought we didn't. It's a pretty standard value shove on the river. If he has a flush, it's pretty unfortunate, but he's definitely in shove with worse here a lot of the time. I'm going to call with pairs through, like 7s through 10s and jack potentially now because he thinks I don't have a queen. Again, I'm going to bet for value with the ace queen here. Yeah, min 4 betting with and I went for a blocker bet on the river because I think he's still going to call with worse and potentially could have had a draw or a worse queen. Yeah, and then in 4 betting, people usually do squeeze light, so when you 4 bet, they just think you have the nuts and you're trying to induce, so you can make a ton of money. As for the value shove here, never bet 5 ways with the ace queen in the bottom right hand corner. He could have a worse queen or a 6 and be betting hero. Obviously, he can have a flush some of the time, but the way he's played it and how he didn't donk shove the river would suggest to me he just never has a flush here. So we obviously have the best hand. Never fold into a pretty much min 3 bet, especially versus a fish, and especially when you flop as well as I do. I'm going to go for a raise straight away here and just try and get stacks in. I'm never folding to him in, but I just can't do it. Obviously he's probably obviously behind, and he's going to call, and it's going to be a pretty gross turn card, which he's going to actually donk at, and I just go ahead and ship it here. I don't think he's going to fold anything here, and he just shows a little worse straight and win a decent sized pot. I mean, I probably should be flat in there most of the time, but once the fish takes that line, he's never folding into my shove. And I should probably have made a note. Red being reg, table 5 is probably not the best way to make money. Back down to 5 tables. Looking for stars, find some more tables. Tyler from CC, most of you will know, says hi. He's the one who has the who wants to be a baller, Fred. Well, we all know he's probably never going to be a baller, let's be honest. He's got a weird cartoon character guy's picture, and he's American. Love you, Tyler. Pretty standing open with the queens, hoping we get some action from the fish. We're never really going to get a 3-bet. But we do get a call. Pretty much pot this flop. If he's got a pair, he's never folding. If he's got a flush draw, he's never folding. We're going to get as much money as we can with a big value bet on the river as well. If he has a 9, we can probably get close to pot in terms of value. And if he has a flush draw, he's going to call at least 2, and we can hope he hits a pair. He does fold the turn, unfortunately for us. I think defending with ace 10 is fine here versus his cut-off range. He's pretty loose. And there's some nice boards which I can attack, and I planned on check raising that flop since it hits me pretty well, and there's a decent amount of turn cards I can barrel at. Again, no such thing as slow playing for me. It's something I really should start doing, but I just dislike. I feel like I'm losing value, and that just looks like nuts all the time. Probably somewhat of a leak. Yeah, that ace 10 hand at the bottom left was a pretty good board for me to attack. I was planning on check raising. He obviously would have folded to consider he check folded. Never folded to him in 3-bet in a million years. And we flop top pair, which is always nice. And when he min bets, I'm just going to check raise for value here all the time and just figure he has ace king, and that he can't fold it because fish just don't seem. This south fish seem to play ace king. They have it and they just don't fold it until the river, or even call with rivers. So I decided to bet pretty small in this river, hoping he would call with ace high. So giving him 4 to 1 on his money. But he doesn't call off. And he's still winning no case size pot. So it folds with the this is probably an open with the 9-10 off. We'll flop okay and we'll win the pot a decent amount of time by stealing. There we go. And a nice squeezing spot with the king queen. Most people choose to go multi-way here, but I think the reg's going to fold a lot with the fish behind. Again, he's going to have to play pretty standard. He's going to fall back his noted ranges, and we do get flied and get a pretty horrible board, which I probably shouldn't be c-betting, but I think I did because I just don't know how to not against a fish. I don't think he's ever going to be folding this board that often to make it okay. I just check and give up here. Debate power in this river, but I'm never going to really do it. It's never going to fold any 2-pair combos. He might do, but no need to risk it. Just wait for the nuts against fish. No need to go crazy. And plus, we'd never have any 5s in our range if we were against a reg anyway. We should really be folding there. So we put Skype. We open the king queen off. King queen down, sorry, on the button. Pretty standard. And win the pot. On a few waiting lists, looking for a few more tables. Just throwing a few of these break, or if they do. Should always be looking for new tables. So if there's new fish knocking about. And also something else I'd highly recommend is getting really good at colour coding and making notes straight away. See that basically everyone I ever play with is colour coding in some form, and then who's not, I'll have usually less than 200 hands on. So I usually do sit down at a table of unknowns and start marking away pretty early. And this session's going pretty well now, making up for yesterday's mayhem. Great start to the month again, pretty similar to January, with a 6 buying day down on the first day of the month, which is never nice way to start the month. I opened the Queen 10 off here, which is pretty wide, but the fish is in the big blind, and these meaning we've had a little bit of history in this session. It just doesn't seem to be falling to me at all. So I think Queen 10 is going to do pretty well against his defending range. And even if a reg does flat, we can still do somewhat okay against him, I believe. And we actually don't get flat this time, we win the pot, which is fine. Defend with the A6, and just decided to check fold this board to win every pot. Can credit sometimes. 10-4 off here, obviously a standard fold. Leaving table 5, not brilliant. It's a shame I don't have 2 screens. I'm going to get in another one at some point. I'm going to need a good couple of months to be able to afford that. So we are working towards 200 now, and a car at the moment. Again, another board that probably hits him pretty well. I don't mind attacking this one as much because we have a gutter, so we have at least some equity. But when we get flatted, we're just going to have to check fold a lot. I flop pretty well with the 10-8 clubs. We're definitely going to be raising this flop. But we get checked too, so we're just going to bet instead. Definitely raising that flop with equity pretty much against everything. I'm going to go to check with the A3, so we're going to bet the turn for value. Fish is going to call with random gut shots and pairs, things like that we can get value from. And then bad table in the bottom right. Now I think I was going to say it's probably a 3-bet value with the King Queen of Hearts though against the fish. I'm a lot happier to 3-bet for value with a super wide range of position against fish who open, which obviously hasn't happened that often. But any Broadway cards I'm 3-betting for value almost exclusively, and more likely to flat suit connectors and things like that, because we can just outplay them in position a lot. I don't understand when scare cards hit. I decided to 3-bet the jacks here against his fish. He doesn't have that much behind, so I'm really happy to get it in against his stack size. And plus he's bad, so he'll probably call anyway, which he does. And I was just debating how to get stacks in. The argument was between 4 and 5 really. 5 leaves him with basically no fold equity on the turn, which is exactly what I want. Because obviously he doesn't understand what that is. And he decides to tank for a while here, and I'm just praying he has a hand like any 9x hand, preferably Jack 9 so he doesn't have any outs. So he puts more than half his stack in, obviously snap shove. He calls with Queen 9, obviously brilliant for us, until that river, which is unfortunate. But very happy with how we played the hand and got it in good. The exact reason I wanted him to have Jack 9. But we're happy for the fish to be doubled up. We'll just take it off him at a later point. Find it much less annoying when fish suck out than regs, because you feel like you're going to be able to get the money back at some point in the near future. And I'm making a note of that. Something you need to be making notes all the time of how fish play their hands, or anyone plays any hands. Can be very valuable in the future. Similar to colour coding. So the action isn't brilliant for a Saturday, which is annoying, and fish is now sat out, which means this could be coming close to leaving table 4. This is super irritating. It does sit back in actually, fortunately for us. Still looking for tables. I'm trying to find something there. Filters to go by. It's not been a brilliant first video for me. There's not been many tough spots or many spots for debate. I mean, maybe some of the spots are and I'm just not realising. So if you have any questions, do feel free to ask. So thanks for watching, and see you next time. That was Ducky7 playing some 1500 and L6 Max. Thanks for watching. Bye.